Perfect. Joe, just to start with you, can you especially that second half performance, can you just sort of describe the emotion, seeing that all come together and probably putting together the best half that we've sort of seen in 2024 by the Wallaroos?
Yeah, look, just really proud, and not necessarily of like what they did on the pitch today, but actually how they responded to defeat. Like this week, the girls, they never let their heads drop after the Wales game. It was like, what's next? What can we do to be better? And all of us, and then that kind of effort and work rate this week allowed us to put in a performance like that, which we knew we were more than capable of in terms of, I've seen it in training all the time. It's just having that belief and pulling it together at the right time on the pitch.
Just to follow up on that, like there's a point of sort of 5-all, you're defending your line with a couple of minutes to go before half time. It's, if a team drops its head and concedes a try, it's, very complex in that perspective. Sort of, what do you think was just that thing from a culture perspective that you thought really just sort of defined that toughness and was able to turn it around? So all of a sudden,
Yep.
10-5 deficit is now 10-5 lead as you're heading in.
Yeah, it's just the way, like in training and the way they've come together, like off field, and that connection as a group. They're becoming really tight as a group. They're having that belief and trust in one another. Like we do a lot of work off field on our values, and to see them work really hard for each other there, like that was a crucial thing for us, coming away and not conceding at that point, but then managing to get a try before half time. That allows us to come in with that, like, okay, we're okay, and we always had that belief that if we cut out the mistakes from last week, that we had a real opportunity to put some tries on.
So just on those try scorers, I'll start with Eva. I like a prop to be able to sort of make a run like that, to just bursting people away. Just how special on the front row is she, and how do you go about just getting her to deliver that more consistently?
Yeah, so like Eva works really hard, and but like Eva doing the line breaks, but then you've got Bridie who's just putting in shift after shift for us as well, and and sometimes she's a bit of an unsung hero too. So our props have really stepped up. We've done really well around that scrum. Over the last few months, there's been so much work put into that, and they're really starting to pull together as a unit.
It's on Mayer as well. I think that's something like 5 tries in the last 4 games or 6 tries in the last 5. Like she's a special talent. Like how do you keep challenging someone like that and keep getting better and keep finding sort of new elements of a game?
And that's what's so great about them as a squad. Like they all want to get better. Like no one's resting on their laurels at all. Like, and you got Mayer and Desi, and Desi didn't have necessarily the space, but she always beats that first defender, and she works really hard off her wing too. So the two of them have really started to become great threats for us out wide.
For Tyler at 10, someone who wasn't originally named but coming in, player of the match performance, like how does just the composure of a 19-year-old to take that on, like what does that sort of say about her and just how special talent she could be if she keeps developing?
Again, like Tala is just, she started the last 2 games, and we wanted to get that depth at 10, and people kind of with not having Bella come out the last minute there, we knew Tala had got those 2 games under her belt, so that gave her real confidence going into this game, and she smashes it at Brumbies week in, week out, and the message to her is you don't need to do anything different. Like we know that she's an all-round player. It's just having that confidence.
And Mac, for yourself, just looking at sort of the post-match scenes, there seems to be a lot of emotion just in that win. You've gone through some tough times, whether it was, last week's defeats to Ireland and New Zealand. Can you just talk from a player's perspective, just what that does to the mood and how sort of satisfying it is to see it all come together like that?
Yeah, it's really satisfying to see it come together and get a win like that to start off the campaign. I think we've sort of touched on the fact that this year we probably haven't had all of the results that we would have liked to. But as we've alluded to week in, week out, everyone's been working so hard on the field, off the field, and we see it in training. We know that it's there and we know we're capable. And I think it was just the emotion tonight of finally getting to put a performance out there that we know that we're capable of, but now finally everyone else back home knows as well, and they can see it and get behind us even more than they have been.
So when you look at that first quarter as well, when you sort of had the rolling maul try disallowed, a couple of sort of scrum penalties probably not go the way that others went later in the game, like there's sort of moments where sort of past teams would have potentially sort of let the frustration take over and affect their game. What does it sort of say about the growth of this team that you're just sort of able to sort of park that and just keep the focus, keep the belief that, periods of play like that second half where you're running in something like 3 tries in the last sort of 12 minutes can come?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I think it comes down to the quality of our drivers that we have out there through the leadership group, through our attack drivers, defence drivers. The coaching staff gave us a really clear plan to go into that game with, and we sort of knew that we'd have to play the patient game, we'd have to play a bit of the boring game where we were just doing the little stuff well, sticking to our kick game, sticking to our front line. And we knew that it's a test match, right? It's going to be an arm wrestle. It's going to be slow. It won't always go our way, but we knew if we stuck to those simple sort of strategies that it would open up. And we saw that in the last 20 minutes when it opened up. It all opened up, and you saw those tries from Mayers and some of the meters we made, and it was pretty exciting footy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on to next week, South Africa. I guess, what do you know about them? So the joy of this sort of tournament is you get to face teams like that. Have you ever played South Africa before?
Personally, no. Wallaroos have a couple of times. I think a pretty good win history going back into our books, but in the last 5-6 years in my time in the jersey, we haven't yet. Obviously, the review on them will start a little bit more intensely coming into this week, but from what we've seen so far, we know it's going to be a physical game. We know that sort of collision dominance, both sides of the ball, getting our chop tackles and being really disciplined there will be huge for us coming into this week. But I think all stuff that we've been working on pretty hard over the last few months anyway. So just going back to sharpening those tools and building on what we've already started.
Just to bring you, Joe, on that sort of question, did you get sort of chance to look at them yesterday and just sort of see how they performed, what sort of shapes to expect?
Yeah, no, we did, and we could see that as a team, and when we've kind of reviewed them earlier coming into this comp, they're a very direct team, they're a very physical team, and if they're getting behind you, they're pretty dangerous. So we know that we have to be able to put them on the floor early, because there are some strong physical girls, and as a program they've been kind of full time now for 3 years, so they're building and building. So we definitely know it's going to be a big match for us next week.
Of course, just a couple of sort of injury-related ones. Bella, is that head knock, is the rule her out next week, or is there sort of protocols she's still going to go through?
So that's kind of being dealt with by the doc at the moment. So we'll just see how those protocols unfold over the next few days.
Just finally, keeping with the half team, Nat Wright seemed to sort of be favouring the foot late. Is there sort of a prognosis you can give right now about that?
No, not yet. She needs to go and get that looked at, and then we'll find out where she's at.
Great, that's all the question I had. Thanks
Awesome.
very much, and congrats on the win.